In December 2020, a cybersecurity company called FireEye noticed something wrong with its own network. When they traced the intrusion, they found malicious code embedded inside a software update that 18,000 organizations had already downloaded and installed, including the US Treasury, the Department of Homeland Security, the Justice Department, and Microsoft. The attackers had been inside those networks for up to 9 months. Nobody had noticed. The software that delivered the attack was called SolarWinds Orion. You almost certainly work at an organization that runs it right now. SolarWinds makes network monitoring software. Orion is their flagship product. It sits on your IT infrastructure and watches everything: servers, applications, network devices. It needs deep access to do its job, which means it has deep access. About 33,000 organizations were customers. 18,000 of them downloaded the compromised update. The attackers knew exactly what they had found: a single point of trust that touched the internal networks of governments and corporations around the world. The group behind the attack is tracked by different names depending on who you ask: Cozy Bear, APT-29, Midnight Blizzard. It is a unit of the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SVR. They are not criminals looking for money. They are intelligence officers looking for secrets. The distinction matters because it changes everything about how they operate: patient, precise, invisible. They had been inside SolarWinds' build pipeline, the system that compiles and packages their software, since at least October 2019. Here is how the attack worked. The attackers inserted a small piece of malicious code, later named Soonburst, into SolarWinds Orion source code before it was compiled into a software update. The update was digitally signed by SolarWinds, meaning every security tool in every organization that received it saw a legitimate, trusted, signed update from a known vendor. There was no phishing email, no stolen password, just a routine update that every IT team installed without question. Sunburst was designed to stay dormant for 2 weeks after installation. It checked whether it was running inside a security research sandbox. It checked the organization's domain name against a block list. If it detected networks belonging to cybersecurity companies, antivirus vendors, or government security agencies on the block list, it did nothing. If everything looked like a real target, it connected to a command and control server disguised as legitimate SolarWinds traffic. The entire thing was engineered to be invisible. Once active inside a network, Sunburst gave the attackers a foothold to move laterally, to jump from machine to machine, harvest credentials, access email, read files, and in some cases, move into cloud systems including Microsoft 365 and Azure Active Directory. The US Treasury's email system was compromised. So was the agency that manages nuclear weapons. The attackers were selective. They did not hit everything they could reach. They moved carefully, read what they needed, and left little trace. The reason this went undetected for 9 months comes down to how organizations monitor for threats. Most security tools look for unusual behavior, unknown software, unfamiliar processes, traffic to unknown destinations. Sunburst produced none of these. It arrived inside trusted software, ran as a known process, and communicated through legitimate-looking channels. The attacker had essentially built a key that fit every lock, because they had access to the locksmith's workshop. The broader implication is called a supply chain attack, and it is now one of the most dangerous vectors in cybersecurity. You do not need to breach your target directly. You breach a vendor your target trusts. Every piece of software your organization runs came from somewhere. Every update that software receives is a potential delivery mechanism. SolarWinds had 18,000 customers. One successful compromise of their build process reached all 18,000 simultaneously. The response reshaped how the US government thinks about software security. Executive Order 14,028, signed in 2021, requires federal contractors to produce a software bill of materials, a full list of every component inside their software, like a nutrition label for code. The intent is to make supply chain attacks traceable before they happen. Whether it is working is a separate question. The underlying problem, that we have built enormous systems of trust on top of software we cannot fully verify, has not changed. SolarWinds was not the first supply chain attack. and it was not the last. The method works too well for nation-state attackers to abandon it. If you want to understand how China is using the same approach inside US telecommunications infrastructure right now, actively as of this year, our video on Salt Typhoon covers the operation in full. Everything you just learned about how these attacks work applies directly to what is happening today. SolarWinds proved how well the supply chain method works. The same approach is inside US infrastructure right now. If you want to see it happening live, our video on Salt Typhoon, how China hid inside US telecom networks for 2 years, picks up exactly where this leaves off. It is on this channel.